Hello, I am recording this quite last minute, simply because it was, how do I say this, it swept under my rug. What? Is that the right phrase? Whatever. What I'm saying is I completely forgot that I hadn't done a Sacred Stones character tier list, even though we'd finished the game off, of course. So yeah, I'm kind of rush recording this in a sense. Don't worry, all of my thoughts and all that's going to be genuine, and it's going to be, we're going to discuss all these characters, all these wonderful characters. I suppose luckily for me, the thing is there actually isn't that many characters within this game. I think it's 33 or something from what I understand. And we actually, I believe we recruited everyone. I might be wrong, but that might actually be the first time that I recruited every single character. Although I suppose... Oh, actually no. Yeah, there's yeah, her. Of course. Hey, she didn't want to get recruited, so what can I say? So yeah, I suppose I'll do let's just jump into it. I suppose this is gonna be one of the most jankiest tier list videos I've done, and I probably ever will do. But hopefully you can get some sort of enjoyment out of it. Here's hoping, at least. First of all, let's just get the fodder out the way. I'm gonna move you, because who are you? Oh yeah, first of all, I do want to actually mention one thing. This is a fantastic start to a video. I don't think I've ever been this disorganized for a video thus far, so hopefully you can get something out of this. But basically, for context, I haven't read the support conversations at this point of the recording. Do not worry. Please be reassured. We'll get around to doing all the support conversations at some point within later on in the tail end of this year, basically. I don't know, probably sometime in December. I still have to do the Binding Blade ones first, and then we'll do the Sacred Stones ones. So I'll be able to learn more about these characters, obviously. This is just my initial reactions from playing through the story. From playing through both routes, if you're wondering. I did do Erika and Ephiram. I did both of the routes. But yeah, if you're new here, that's kind of my understanding. I've only played through this game once, and I only played it for the first time, like, 3 months ago or something? And I just finished it, of course, but yeah, anyways. I suppose similarly in F rank, we could just throw you in, because literally, who are you? For context, we couldn't recruit her because she, attacked, Seth, actually. She attacked Seth, and she basically killed herself, so yeah, I was not to blame with that. I was not to blame. She bit off more than she could chew. And yeah, honestly, like, as much shit as I give Ross, like, yeah, Amelia's easily my least favorite trainee unit for sure. I suppose, is there anyone else that I can put in F tier? Maybe I'll come back to that for the time being. I suppose I could just go in order. Or I could just ward out and go, like, bottom to top sort of thing. That's a little bit different. That's a little bit interesting, isn't it? Maybe, slowly reaching the top in a sense. Okay. Well, I'll try and look for any characters that I might think are either E's or F's. Let's see here. I hate to do this, but maybe. Yeah. LaRachel, you're an E. I'm sorry to all the LaRachel fans, if any of you even exist. But yeah, no, she appears way too late in the game. This is just my explanation, of course. She appears way too late in the game. I do prefer troubadours over regular healers, of course, but she appears with a D rank. She's kind of obnoxious, and in fact, her whole, like, Team Rocket crew are a little bit much for me. I feel like definitely, I don't know, I'm not in the Fire Emblem community per se when it comes to socializing within the online community, so I don't know what the general consensus is, but I have a gut feeling that the Team Rocket group, I'll put them here for a second, I'm gonna move them, but these three, I feel like you either love them or you hate them, and I'm definitely more towards the kind of disdain. I definitely don't love them, I'll put it that way. Maybe I don't hate them, but yeah, they're a bit obnoxious, I will say that much, for sure. But I suppose, in that regard, maybe, yeah, I could put Dozler in D. I guess he's just kind of like the dumb sort of, no-brained sort of attack-first sort of character, which is always welcome. He's definitely a lot more, I suppose, interesting than characters like Bartray in Blazing Blade. At least his design, his design's very like Akira Toriyama kind of Dragon Quest, I dig it. Renak is probably my favorite. I think I'll put him at least in a C. That makes the most sense to me. His class is really cool. He's got a unique class. I forget what it's called. Is it the Rogue? I think it's the Rogue. So, you know, that was really interesting. I liked his color palette and all that. He was also, you know, one thing I really appreciate about his character is that he was very humble. I remember Erica was like, you know, oh wait, no, yeah, because he said, like, if you pay me 10,000 gold, then I'll join your party, I'll help you out. And then Erica hesitates a bit, but then she gives it over, and then he goes like, wait, seriously, you're really giving this to me? He almost felt like she wasn't going to hand it over, right? There was that humbleness to it, which I really appreciated. I don't know, there's something about just kind characters that are kind of nice, though, like, weirdly enough. And I think it works a lot with Renek's character, because he does look like this sort of edgy, sort of, I come first sort of character type. So I like characters that kind of contrast and juxtapose based on, you know, their appearance or maybe their initial sort of portrayal compared to the things that they do. So yeah, that's always a plus for me. Alright, let's see. Is there anyone else I could throw in D or E or something? I suppose I'm a little mixed on Naomi. I don't know where. I guess we could, I mean, I definitely don't dislike her. She 100% grew on me. She 100% did. I feel like maybe even a C tier or something would make the most sense. Potentially even higher. Like, honestly, I could see her being up in, like, B or something. I'll come back to her. You know what? I'll come back to her, because I'll have to see who else gets put in C and whatnot, and then we can decide that way, I think, based on context. I suppose then in that case, I'll take a look. You're the only other Pegasus Knight in this, right? No, I know the joke is, haha, you hate Pegasus Knights, put her in F, but I actually think I'm gonna give her an E rank at least. Simply because she's a little bit more interesting. Oh, actually, speaking of, yeah, you go dead last. I cannot stand, I've gotten to this point where I've gotten sick and tired of the blue-haired Pegasus Knight archetype. I can't stand it, I really can't stand it. Oh, I'm the heroine, oh, I have blue hair, I'm the anime waifu, yeah, get out of here. So in that regard, I think Vanessa really shines in that regard. Maybe this chick that I don't know her name, maybe she does shine as well, but she was too late into the game that I didn't really care. But at least Vanessa's a bit more interesting, you know, in terms of design. Her design's really, you know, more laid back sort of thing, less kind of cutesy, I suppose. And then, like, her personality, she's very, like, I don't know. I suppose she was laid back. I only really saw her interact with Mulder, but in that regard, she was definitely a breath of fresh air. And I feel like a lot of the characters in Sacred Stones tend to be that, because it does feel like very much like a Gaiden story. There's no, like, old man who's a paladin. Well, I guess Dussel is a thing, but I'm talking about, like, in the very beginning. They don't give you, like, Christmas Cavaliers from the first chapter. Like, this game definitely feels like something very unique, and I think in that regard, Vanessa's a really nice take on the Pegasus Knight genre. I didn't use her, but I'm saying, like, I do really appreciate that, and I think that's the reason why I can put her in E. I suppose, speaking of Mulder, as much of a meme as he is, I think I'm gonna put him in D. Yeah, I think that makes sense. You know, I've made jokes about him. He's the Pringles packet or whatever. I suppose he's kind of interesting looking. You definitely don't get characters like that in terms of healers a lot of the time. But yeah, he just wasn't really doing it for me. He was just kind of like a gentle soul, right? I mean, I only took a look at Vanessa's support conversation, so I'm not entirely too sure about his whole character, character journey, I suppose. But yeah, he was definitely just kind of like this gentle soul that, I don't know, he was just kind of like, like a positive ray of light in a sense, right? I kind of wanted a little bit more from his character. I mean, again, maybe the support conversations will change my mind. But yeah, like Natasha was my favorite healer in this whole game, so we'll get to her. I mean, again, like I said, I kind of want to do this reverse pyramid. No, not reverse pyramid. Yeah, I guess it's just a pyramid shape where you start from the bottom and go to the top. Anyways, yeah, that's kind of what I want to do for this video, because that might be a bit more interesting. So I'll try and look for any more like D's or E's or F's or anything. I feel like there might not be any more F's. There's no characters that I dislike. Here's the thing, like, these three are in the F rank. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to change that around. I'll probably put a million above you. These are in the F rank, but Kath from Binding Blade is like 10,000 times worse than these three. So, like, even though I put him in F, okay, I do dislike Tana. Is that her name? I do dislike her, but, well, I mean, I don't particularly like any of these, but at the same time, I don't have like a strong feeling towards them, if that makes sense. I suppose we could start putting in some C's and then see what happens, I guess. I guess that kind of makes sense. Alright, let's see. Who is a C in my book? Maybe like Garrick. Garrick feels like a C. Although I think I like you more than Doozle. Simply because he, at least to me, he just feels like a clone of Deke. Of course. And I know there is Fire Emblem archetypes of, oh, this is the swordsman, this is the sorcerer, whatever, but he did very much feel like just a copy and paste of Deke, right? Even the hair color is kind of similar. And, you know, they both have mercenary groups and stuff. I think going off Binding Blade and jumping into Sacred Stones is kind of what I did. In fact, I was kind of juggling between the two most of the time when I was uploading the episodes, I mean. So in that regard, it did really feel like that. And I think looking back, it was Blazing Blade did this really nice thing where Raven, even though I didn't really use him that much, like he was very different in terms of a Swordmaster, not Swordmaster, in terms of a, what are they called, hero? Hero class. He's very different, right? He's very edgy. He almost feels like he has a Myrmidon sort of personality, but he's actually a hero. So like that sort of thing, that sort of like playing around with archetypes and stuff I really appreciate, and that's kind of what boosts up rankings for me. But yeah, Garrick, I think he's smack bang in the center. I like him. I feel like a lot of people don't hate him either. But yeah, there really wasn't much going on, I feel. I suppose in a similar vein with his little group, I might as well put Tedis up as well. I do like her more. First of all, I really like her dancer animation. It was super fluid and stuff. Like, I mean, I only saw it like twice, but yeah, that was like really well designed. I kind of do like this sort of traveling dancer sort of archetype going on with like the cloth in her hair and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I think this is a case of I didn't really see too much. Again, maybe I'll like her more if I read the supports. But at least for the time being, she's definitely smack bang in the center, I feel. Speaking of smack bang in the center, now I'm going to be honest with you, I probably would put him much lower, but I'm going to put Colm here because of his usability. And the reason I say this is because, actually there's two reasons. One is that Colm is the only thief, other than Renak, right, that you get in this game, which was a little bit unfortunate, I'm not gonna lie. Kinda wish there was more thief characters in this game. In fact, I kinda wish there was more characters in general in this game, and I sort of also wish that each split path gave you different characters that are exclusive to those paths, right? So that was a little bit unfortunate in terms of the gameplay aspect. But yeah, the only reason why I put him a little bit higher, I mean, Colm usually would be around like a D or an E. I forget where I put Matthew in my Blazing Blade tier list, but he'd be around that tier. And yeah, the thing that elevates it for me is that Colm and Nami's support conversation, you know, like the A rank, it was very vanilla, it was very sort of cliche, but at the end of the day, it was rather sweet. So I think that definitely does it for me. And also the fact that he was the only thief I really used throughout the whole game, because there just really isn't many options. So yeah, in that regard, I think, yeah, he comfortably sits in C for the time being. I suppose we could take a look at some of the Cavaliers now. Alright, so easily you are my least favorite. I don't dig Kyle in the slightest. And he kept getting deployed. That was the other thing that really annoyed me, with his like 7 speed or something pathetic. Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, Ford and Kyle's supports were kind of fun. They were kind of cute. But I also, I almost prefer Effie Ram and Ford's support conversations. As well as Franz and Ford as well. I mean, I didn't see the whole thing, but the whole sibling thing was really nice. Yeah, I mean, obviously I prefer Ford out of those characters. And also Franz is really cool as well. I'll put you next to each other. In fact, I might just group up all the Paladin characters. Doozle as well. Yeah, so these 4, obviously, much, yeah, I like them way more than I did Kyle. Yeah, I think he's rather forgettable in that regard, so I think E rank makes the most sense. I suppose I just have something against green-haired characters. I don't know what's up with that, but it's definitely a coincidence, don't worry. It's not like some sort of vendetta that I have. This is actually starting to get kind of difficult. I guess in a similar regard, we'll talk about some other C ranks, and I might talk about Marissa. She definitely did grow on me quite a bit towards the end after she promoted into a Swordmaster, but at the same time, her personality is kind of like just, you know, wet cardboard, right? There isn't really much there at all. You're just kind of looking at it and nothing's happening. But yeah, I kind of do dig her magenta hair. It's a little bit much, I feel, compared to her black kind of sleek outfit. It is a bit of a mismatch in terms of the color palette, in my eyes at least. But hey, I mean, Sword Masters it's really weird. So I don't particularly like Myrmidons that much, but you know, using Sword Masters is kind of fun. I think I know what it is. I think it's because Myrmidons tend to be kind of weak when they first appear. But when you get to that level 10 plus and then promote them into Swordmaster, they pretty much just dodge everything and crit everything, and I think that's just kind of fun. So that's probably the reason why I quite like the Swordmaster class. But even then, I think, yeah, Marissa makes sense to be in C, especially compared to some of the really, really interesting characters and some of the characters that really pop out for me. In terms of, you know, the cast here, so... I suppose in a similar regard, I might just put Saleh in here as well. I know they're their whole mercenary group here. Yeah, probably even lower than Calm. Higher than Marissa? Higher than Marissa. I do like the mage class, I do like the sage class. I didn't really get much from him, that's all I'm gonna say. The thing is, I do feel like a lot of the magic units, you know, like E1, Lute, Arthur, even Null, they tend to be more fun to use in my eyes. You know, E1 because he's so low leveled and he grows really well. And then Arthur and Lute have their respective different elements, you know, like the light magic, animal magic, and then Null has dark magic, as well as being able to summon those phantom warriors, right? So in that regard, the fact that Saleh's soft-locked to this Sage class, and then you can't really customize him that much, I feel like that was a bit of a letdown. And he also just kind of felt like a Pent too, you know? It's like, Mum, I want Pent, and then it's like, we have Pent at home, and then this is Pent at home, you know? Where it's like, it felt like something was missing a little bit. I really do like the student and disciple relationship between him and E1, of course, but at the end of the day, I feel like E1 just shines like super brightly, and in that regard, Saleh's kind of in the back burner. He's a very strong unit. I will give you that. He's very, very strong. But yeah, I think C makes sense for me. I don't feel particularly too strongly about him. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should be starting to put some B ranks in. I think that makes the most sense. First of all, Naomi. I have Archer bias, obviously, but also her cult belt's very cute. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole, like, you know, crying every 5 seconds thing. But at the end of the day, the Calm and Naomi, like ship or support, was rather sweet. And also she was popping off as a sniper. So I think in that regard, I will definitely put you there. I think, yeah, B would make the most sense. I mean, if C is like characters that I am not too, like, I don't really have much of an opinion on, and then if B's characters that I kind of want to see grow in a sense, then I think Naomi is perfect to be there. That makes sense to me. I guess in that, well, not in that regard, but in a similar no, actually not a similar vein at all. I don't know where I'm going with this. Sorry, I don't know where my mind is at the moment, but I was gonna say I'm gonna put Joshua also in B rank. Keeping in mind, yeah, he did die in the second chapter that he was introduced in. But, I mean, look, as someone that loves, like, edgy fashion, I kind of have to. There's two things about this. There's a male character with long hair bias, and then there's edgy clothing bias, right? I barely know anything about this man. Also, I do like his whole gambling thing, right? That was kind of interesting, and that's a really cool take on the whole critical system, you know? How he has a killer sword, what's it called? A killer edge. Of course. It would have been even more interesting if they gave him a specific weapon called, like, the Devil's Sword or something, you know? Like, if it really was a thing of, it was a powerful sword that could backfire, and that's the reason, you know, that's how he was gambling with his life in battle. That could have been really interesting. But yeah, no, he's definitely a solid character. If I had used him more, he probably would have climbed up to A rank just from his design alone and all that, but I think B makes the most sense for me. I guess also in B, I'll put Arthur. I really do like Arthur. I feel like people might, this is just an assumption, but I feel like people might not really like Arthur that much. But I really do. Okay, there's two things. First of all, support rank with A with Lute is incredibly wholesome. It is easily the biggest ship that I have within this game. That was super cute. But also he's just, you know, Arthur's just kind of like a, you know, like he's just a gentleman. He's just a gentle boy. Light magic's fun. I definitely do prefer him to Lucius, I feel. in that regard. And there wasn't a light mage user in Binding Blade, was there? So there isn't really much to compare there. But yeah, and I also really like his color design, of course, the cyan as well as the white. So, you know, all in all, I think he's a very interesting design. You know, the wavy hair as well, you don't see that super often in Fire Emblem. I mean, you see it sometimes, but he's kind of not anime-like in a sense. He feels like an 80s fantasy protagonist or something, you know, from like an old manga or something. I dig it. I dig it a lot. I guess in that regard, Natasha also comes up here. I can probably put her above these two. Yeah, Natasha definitely fits into that. Simply because, yeah, she's definitely the most fun I've had using a healer within this game. I promoted her into the Valkyrie class, is that right? I think that's right. Of course, she gains light magic, that suits her quite a bit, and also just all in all, she was just an incredibly easy to use healer just because of how, you know, she got up to S rank, I think, by the end of it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she did. So she just had really good growths all around when it came to EXP and healing and that sort of thing. Yeah, Natasha's definitely up there. I really do enjoy. I mean, look, I feel like it's more of a usability thing in that regard. I do also like her design. I don't know too much about her character, but she is a character that did stick with me. So, yeah, there you have it. Let's see here. This is starting to get somewhat difficult. First of all, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna put Milra in low D. Yeah, low D makes sense, I think. At the end of the day, she's just another lolly dragon. I hate to say it, but that's basically what she is. She had some really cool movements, I suppose, and, you know, she was growing crazily, much like Faye in Binding Blade. But at the end of the day, she is just like another lolly dragon that I don't feel too fond of whatsoever. One really cool thing about her storyline was the whole thing with her father. In the second last chapter, you fight her father as a zombie or whatever, and it's kind of hinted at, I suppose. It's not directly told, but it's really interesting, the storyline there, and how she's just like, Erica's just like, can I see your father? And she's just like, no, he's not looking for visitors right now, like, you know, that sort of thing. And I thought that was really interesting for a character that age to be mature enough to sort of kind of read the room in a sense, and you know, understand that telling the truth about her father probably wouldn't have been the greatest in terms of the team's morale. So in that regard, I do think she's really interesting. However, I have seen this Dragon Loli archetype so many times in Fire Emblem. I will say she is one of the better ones, but at the same time, I don't think I can put her in C. If I was generous, I would put her in lower C, but I'm not feeling super generous today. No, I don't know. But yeah, I suppose I'll put you there for now. Let's see here, who else can I start moving into B or under? I guess? Ford's a hard one. Oh, actually, I feel like Ford might even be an A rank. I'm not sure now. I'm really, really not sure. This is starting to get difficult. Some of my favourite characters of this game are actually starting to come up, so we might have to start moving up. But I will say I might put Orson smack bang in C. Okay, so a couple of things I want to talk about in terms of him. I think story-wise, he's fantastically well written. Absolutely amazing. The whole reveal of him betraying us, you can use him for a bit, and then he betrays us, and then the whole creepy thing of like his wife's like a marionette or something, right? But he's still clinging onto it, he still thinks that his wife is there, and he kind of moves to the dark side, and you have this really creepy, disturbing scene, which felt really dark for Fire Emblem. I know Fire Emblem sometimes does have dark themes, but a lot of the time, it tends to be sort of like this young teen sort of night fantasy stuff, right? So when you do get those slightly disturbing scenes, it's really, it really sticks with you. In that regard, I think is really interesting as a story element, of course. However, I really, really wish that Orson's betrayal came after a few chapters, if not half of the game of using him, and then suddenly towards the end he betrays, and all this time he was planning on betraying. If that had happened, I'm not even kidding, he would have been like A rank or something. It would have been incredibly frustrating that you put in all those hours and all those, but that's the same feeling that the characters would have gotten, right? Effie Ram would have felt betrayed in that regard. He's worked together all this time. He's become stronger with this man throughout all this time, and then suddenly, that was never a thing. That was just, it was all a ruse, and then how shattered would you feel, right? I feel like they did the Orson reveal way too quickly. That was definitely one of my complaints about that segment of the story, as well as the whole meeting with Erica and Effie Ram super early on as well. I felt like they could have expanded that quite a bit. If they had elongated it, up until like chapter 18, 19, that sort of thing, right before the climax of the game, bam, Orson betrays. He's one of the bad guys now. You have to beat him as a boss. He's transferred over to, using the Darkstone and stuff because he wanted his wife back, and that was the one justice that he believed in. Perfect storytelling, that would have, taken the cake for me. But yeah, he's a very interesting character, and I do think he's a very daring character in that regard, because I feel like intelligent systems, as well as just game designers in general, have a little bit of a hard time in terms of, here's a party member that will eventually betray you, right? Because the player is going to put real life hours into grinding these characters, adding equipment and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you're controlling these characters, but these characters technically have their minds of their own in a sense. They have their own goals and ambitions. So that could have been a really interesting contrasting point, a really interesting juxtaposing sort of point where, this character, you might have thought that he was one of your best units, but at the end of the day, he was just doing all this for his own gain, right? But yeah, that I feel like I could kind of waffle on about Orson for a really long time. It was really unfortunate how little screen time he really had. When they made such a big deal about it in the beginning. However, like I said, there was so many fantastic ideas in terms of his involvement. Sorry, I just stumbled there a little bit. His involvement, of course. So in that regard, I think smack bang in the center kind of makes sense for me. I have problems with his storyline, but I also see a ton of potential. So I'm a little bit unsure here, so I'm going to put him in C, I think. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I suppose in that regard, I'll put Dusel in B. Yeah, I'll put Dusel in B. I think this kind of comes from the... Okay, so first of all, Great Lord is such a cool unit. I'd never seen it up until this point. It was really cool. I love his color palette. It's kind of got that, evil going on. He's sort of like a... I don't know, I wouldn't say a chaotic evil character, but sort of like a lawful evil character or something. I don't know, he feels sort of antagonizing, even when he joins. He's kind of like, I'm gonna, do this because... his army, what was it again? His army betrayed him or something like that. It was kind of like for his own good sort of thing. I did like that sort of anti-hero sort of thing going on. Cormag's kind of in a similar situation, but I do think I prefer Cormag. But yeah, no, Dusel's fun to use. He's definitely a solid character. A lot of these B rank characters are all just solid units. But at the end of the day, there is characters that I definitely prefer. So in that regard, I think Dusel's staying in the B rank for me at least. Speaking of strong paladins, I'm gonna put Seth up as well. You can go up above Natasha. Would I put you above Arthur? No, I think one more down. First of all, I will praise Seth for one thing. He is not a Marcus clone. He's not the old guy who was a paladin. Already, just a whole bunch of points. However, I do feel like Seth is a little bit of a interesting character where his personality is basically that he's just loyal to Erica, right? There isn't really much else. I mean, again, there might be some cool stuff in the supports. I like Seth and Cormag's support where they genuinely do feel like friends there. It feels like his first friendship that he ever got, right? But other than that, he's very fun to use from how powerful he is, but I wasn't really feeling too much in terms of his personality or storyline. So that was a little bit unfortunate, but still, absolutely solid unit. I'll absolutely put him there. Okay, you know what? I can start putting stuff in A's as well. I think automatically Cormag, you go in here. Really cool. I love is it the Wyvern Knight? Is that what they're called? Like the bat-looking one. God, that's such a cool class, a cool animation, of course. And Cormag in general, I think if I didn't play Erica's route, he probably would have been in B rank. But because I played that, we got to see, what was his name, Volta finish off Glenn. And then, Cormag has that whole thing of like, why did he kill the person that killed my brother? And then, of course, he gets a whole debacle where, I think it's actually Erica that killed, my brother and that sort of thing, because Volta told me so. you know, yeah, there's like that whole thing going on. I thought that was a really interesting storyline. You know, I mean, look, when he got recruited, it was a little bit, I feel like it was a little bit too quick that, you know, he joined Erika's army. But at the end of the day, it is a Fire Emblem recruitment, so what can you ask for? And he's an incredibly fun character to use, and just overall, he's just super solid. I like him a lot. I think similarly, Innes is already going up here. Now, you know, Archer Bias, of course. I love his green hair. He's my favorite out of their whole, like, mercenary squad. Snipers are fun, of course. He's got that kind of pompous thing going on, which, you know, it isn't really my favorite archetype or anything like that, but his interactions are rather funny. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot, I think it was it with LaRachel? I think LaRachel said something childish, and he's just like, now's not the time for that, or something like that. Yeah, there was moments like that where it was just kind of funny. So I quite like his character. His designs are incredibly solid in my eyes. His color palette's really gorgeous as well, with the cyan and the teal, or sort of like the turquoise kind of going on. But yeah, no, incredibly solid character. Definitely one of my favorite archer units. Within the GBA stuff. Hey, I said one of my favorite. I know that Rebecca's up there, but no, Innes is definitely up there as well. I suppose in that regard, I'll put Franz and Ford also in A rank. I like you more, and then Ford, Ford, for me, feels like he kind of edges between the end of A rank and the top of B rank. Yeah, that makes the most sense to me. I mean, obviously, you know, man with long hair bias, you know, that's already a thing. This feels like one of those, what is it again? You know how isn't there like a website where it's just like, movie tropes or something like that? And it's like, this is the so-and-so trope, this is the so-and-so cliche. It almost feels like that, where there's like a checklist where it's just like, it's either a thing that puts you on the shit list, or it's something that puts you really high up. But no, there's that whole thing. But I think for me, the whole thing with Ford that I really enjoyed was he had like, you know, I feel like a lot of Fire Emblem characters, they're so obsessed with fighting and stuff, and, you know, or it's either they're obsessed with fighting, or they want to stop fighting, right? But the thing I really liked about Ford is that he really had a personality. He really had hobbies outside of the battlefield. He wanted to be a painter. He wanted to, you know, draw up landscapes and stuff. And he was a little bit shy to show them off and stuff, and I thought that, you know, that was really cute. I liked that a ton. You know, like, I like characters that have other ambitions other than just protect my lord, you know, it really gives them a human nature and a human side to them, right? And, you know, maybe some of these other characters do have stuff like that I haven't seen in their supports, but Ford was one of those characters that I immediately grew attached to. And yeah, like, all the supports that I've seen from him were really good, like the Erika one, the Ephiram one, the Franz one. You know, all of them just added to his character and really added to my enjoyment of his character, so there you have it. I suppose we'll go with Noel as well. I'm going to put you above, yeah, I'm going to put you above Ford. I didn't really get to use Noel all that much, but first of all, edgy character, you know, that's a check on the checklist that I love. You know, shaman characters are always fun to use, but I think what just takes the cake for me is how fun the Phantom Knights were to use when you summon the Phantom Knights, and then you can basically get like another turn. God, that was such a fun mechanic. It was incredibly OP and incredibly broken, but it was very fun nonetheless. And I'm very glad that I promoted him into that promotion rather than the other one. But yeah, I think, I mean, I barely know anything about his character. That was one of the things where it's just character design on point, gameplay on point, you know. I think that's kind of all I can say about it. And yeah, Noel was quite fun to use. I think it's time for Loot Crate. Loot Crate, you are climbing the ranks. Lassie, I'll put you under Franz, I think. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So first of all, the dumb joke you know, she's just Lo and Behold, but just the second version of that. But also she was incredibly fun to use. I loved the new edition of the Magic Knight, I believe is what it's called, where you can run around on the horseback and shoot magic and heal up and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun. Not to mention, like I said, she started off. Okay, so this is really interesting because I had a complete 180 with her character. Originally, she was like here, but then because of all the jokes, as well as her character growth within her supports with Arthur, I genuinely started really liking her. Because she's kind of starts off as this pompous girl that's just like, I'm better than all of you. Kind of similar to, is it Clarin? Yeah, it's Clarin from Binding Blade. But, you know, like, as she goes on, you notice that she is very academically smart, but she's not very, like, street smart, right? She's not very socially smart, and she kind of has this whole thing. It's kind of like a complex of hers, like, where she's sort of annoyed about that. And I thought that was really interesting, that she really had this drive to learn more and more and more. And there was this kind of just adorable thing of just watching Luch sort of learn all these things that Arthur thought was sort of common knowledge in a sense, whereas like Arthur couldn't keep up with a lot of Lute's stuff, and I thought like they definitely worked really well. Not to mention like the whole, you know, I like mages of course, but also just her color palette's really cool. All in all, fantastic character that really grew on me. So good job, Lute. Good job. Alright, I should address the elephant in the room, and that's the father and son here. I know there's intense stares down below from a certain 3-lettered user down below who is definitely watching this, with Ross in their profile picture, of course. Here's the thing. Well, I don't know if this is blasphemy, but yeah. Ross. Do I put you in C? Do I really like him that much? Here's the thing. I gotta be genuine, like 100% honest here. Did I like him? Not particularly. He was a bit obnoxious, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Does he deserve to be C rank? I'm feeling a little evil. I'm gonna put him at the top of D rank, just to tease that C rank there. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. First of all, I didn't really get much out of Garcia. I'm sure his support conversations are fantastic, but like, yeah, I wasn't really seeing much. You know, here's the thing. I feel like because all the other characters that we ran into relatively early on as well were just so, like, I don't know, a lot of them just kind of stuck with me, either in power, like Seth, you know, like characters like that, or just characters that I wanted to see grow, such as Arthur, Naomi, you know, Lute, that sort of thing. I feel like, at least in my eyes, he didn't really stand out that much at all. I'm talking about Garcia right now, by the way. And then in terms of Ross here, 2 things I can say. I wasn't a fan of his whole shonen thing. Oh, I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna be the greatest yeah, okay, kid. And the second thing is that, oh my lord, this kid would keep missing and missing and missing. And so in that regard, well, we all know what's gonna happen with E1 here. I'm sure you've already predicted, but, I'm sorry, Roa. I tried my best to like this character, but I just couldn't. I'm sorry, but hey, I don't hate him. I want to make that very clear. I definitely don't hate him. But I don't particularly like him either. I'm really sorry, but he just didn't really land with me, for one reason or another. So, you know, maybe if he landed those hits, maybe if he went and promoted into a hero, then, you know, he might have gone up to like a C or a B or something, but I couldn't see him climb any higher than that personally. And I apologize about that. This is just my opinion. So don't harass me too much. I'm sure some people are going to jump me, but please go easy on me. Anywho, we have two best boys and the 2 protagonists. Let's start with the protagonist first. I think I'll put Ephiram. Ephiram was such a Chad though, that's the thing. Ephiram was such a Chad, oh my god. Yeah, I think you're like here. You're definitely up here. Ephiram was such a Chad. Like, I didn't expect much from him, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought he was just gonna be like the typical, like, Roy Elliowood, that sort of thing, which is an archetype that I really do enjoy, but he really did surprise me. Not only from damage output, but just from general Chad aura, I guess. Yeah, just these choices that he made, as well as like protecting Milra, as well as like, you know, other bits and pieces. Not to mention, he wielded like 3 legendary weapons, is that right? He had like the, what was it again? He had the Siegmund and the first version of that, I forget what it's called, and then he also had the Lance, which was the S rank weapon. Yeah, he was pretty cracked, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like he actually didn't need the promotion at all, but I guess the game just gave that to us. In that regard, I really do like Erica, but she did... Here's the thing, I feel like Ephiram definitely felt like his own character. Erica did feel very much like Celica from Echoes, and I know a lot of people don't really like comparing you know, when I compare Sacred Stones to Echoes or Gaiden or whatever you want to call it. But she did very much feel like the female lead who is noble. She kind of feels like she could use magic, right? Like, there's this kind of element of her that feels like that kind of archetype, and there wasn't really much to it. Again, I really did like the whole triangle relation with Ephraim, Erica, and Leon, of course, towards the end of the game, and throughout the game that's thrown in with the flashbacks and stuff. But yeah, I think I prefer Ephraim. I'm not saying I dislike Erica, I really do like her as well. Her design's fantastic. I love their cyan, well, she has a cyan color, and Ephraim's sort of got that turquoise going on with his hair. So it's really cool how they look similar, but they're slightly different. And yeah, not much else to really add. I think she's definitely a solid lord, but yeah, she didn't really stand out a ton in that regard. But I did, yeah, like, I enjoyed her. I enjoyed her conversations with all the other characters she had and whatnot, for sure. Right, we have, the chattest of them all, Gilliam. I mean, look at those eyebrows. How can you say no to that? Is there anything else I really need to add? Not to mention, this man was tanking everything, as the Great Knight. So, you know, and Amelia tried attacking him once and died, so there you have it. He's that much of a Chad, so there you have it. And I think we all know who my favorite Fire Emblem Sacred Stones character is. I'm sorry, but whenever I see a character like this, it's very similar to Rebecca, it's very similar to Lou and Chad and Ray, where it's just like, when you just see these like characters that aren't particularly strong in the start, it's just like, I need to make this work. I need to do everything I can to make this character incredibly OP. And holy hell did E1 get OP in the final chapter. So, you know, with a lot of boosting items and stuff as well. But also, just in general, I think didn't he have more magic power than some of the other mage units, I'm pretty sure he, like, surpassed Sally as well at one point. Anyways, not to mention, oh my lord, I saw the, what is it again, the trainee animation for the mage trainee. Oh my god, the way he fumbles is the most adorable thing I've ever seen in my life. I love it to bits. His color palette is amazing, that kind of like washed out blue and the bright red, or like the orange, I guess. And then, you know, he's just adorable. He is everything that I wanted Ross to be. Do you get what I mean? Like, it literally is that meme that I made, that on my community tab. I'll put it up right now, but he is everything that I wanted from Ross. He grew well, he hit a whole bunch of things, of course, because, you know, magic attacks tend to hit more than axes, of course, there is that advantage. And then he was just getting all these kills, it was doubling stuff, and then his personality was incredibly sweet. I just wanted the best to happen to this boy. Does that make sense? I felt like a parent, and that's exactly what I felt with all these characters that appear in Fire Emblem, of these kind of trainee classes. I guess Rebecca isn't a trainee, but if there was a trainee element within Blazing Blade, I feel like she might have been like a trainee archer, right? And there's this kind of pride of seeing these characters grow really well, and it's like, oh my god, look at these stats by the end game, and it's like, oh, you have come far. I'm incredibly proud, and I just felt like, even though E1 appeared, what, like chapter 13, 14 or something, even though he appeared quite late on for a character like this, I felt incredibly proud of his growth, and yeah, that's all I can say, and that's definitely where I'm going to end things off. I think this is my tier list. Let me know how wrong I am down below, and I would love to hear your thoughts on your favourite characters as well. Let's have a whole discussion going down there. Apologies again for this video being quite junk. I didn't really come prepared at all, and I had to record this last minute. But anywho, hopefully you'll enjoy this one, and yeah, again, let me know of your thoughts, and I'll see you all next time. Of course, next week we will be starting Path of Radiance, so hopefully you're excited for that. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you all there. So that's it for now. Bye bye.